Police Minister has instructed his officers to keep a close watch on the country's borders. That's to prevent Grace Mugabe from leaving the country. But Fikile Mbalula says she's made no attempt to flee. Zimbabwe's First Lady is seeking diplomatic immunity. Mbalula says questions around whether she qualifies must be answered by the Department of International Relations. Well, a top prosecutor has stepped in to help a South African woman who was allegedly assaulted by Grace Mugabe. Advocate Gerrie Nel says he's concerned that Gabriella Engel's case won't be dealt with correctly, as a third party has already offered the family a bribe. For more on this, Nel joins us from our Pretoria studio. Good evening, Mr. Nel, and thank you very much for joining us. Well, you have approached the Engels family, and they've accepted your offer for legal assistance. What specifically do you have in mind? Is it just legal advice, or are you planning to represent them in court?
Well, it's three things for you. The first thing is we offered our trauma counseling office to deal with the trauma. I think one has to know that the family is suffering from trauma. It was a traumatic incident. The secondary trauma for the family, that's the one aspect. The second aspect is we will be monitoring the process. We'll be monitoring the police's process, investigation, and then certainly we will be monitoring the NPA's prosecution of the matter. Failure of which, if there's no prosecution, then certainly we'll be looking at private prosecution. And thirdly, we have this afternoon sent a letter to the Minister indicating our views on diplomatic immunity, and that we are of the view that the suspect in this matter does not qualify for political immunity. So on those three fronts, we'll be dealing with the matter.
Now, in your letter to the police minister, you say, as you've just said, that she can't use diplomatic immunity for what you call grave crimes. Please, could you expand on that?
Let me just make it clear, I'm not the expert on this, but the way I understand it is a grave crime is defined in the Act as saying it's a criminal offence where if you're convicted, you could face a term of imprisonment for 5 years. So certainly we feel that this assault with the intent to do grievous bodily harm, and after having consulted with the victim, qualifies as a grave crime.
Well, at the media conference earlier, you also seemed to be concerned about the communications between the communication lines between the family and the police. What would be of concern to you in that regard?
Firstly, I would have expected the police to keep the victim in the loop about developments, especially her mother, which is very strong and made it clear that she wants justice to be done, to inform them about the process, how it develops, and what will be going on. I have also said in the press briefing earlier today that the investigating officer contacted the victim and said that they will be applying for a warrant of arrest, and I hope that happened, and I hope that is the intention of the police, to ensure that the suspect appear in court before the end of the week.
Now, she's the wife of a president, and as we speak, there's a charter parking somewhere at Waterkloof. I mean, how crucial is the vigilance and cooperation of the police in ensuring that she doesn't escape?
100%. It's not only the police. I think the police are the front runners. The minister made it clear that they have their eyes on all the borders and points of exit. And I also think that the media and civil society should be awake and should make clear and make sure that the suspect remains in the country so that she could face the South African law. So I don't think it's only the police, although the police is the most important party in this whole process, but I think that the media is playing the role, as well as civil society, in ensuring that the suspect cannot flee the South African law.
Do we know, or are you able to tell us who this third party that offered a settlement amount is, or where they came from, or who they are connected to or attached to?
I cannot. I wouldn't want to disclose more detail about this, but what I want to say is that I was very impressed by the family saying, for them it's not about money. It's not about paying an amount of money, receiving an amount of money so that the case would go away. It's for them, it's about justice. And that impressed me, because that is why we created this office, to ensure that justice is done and to ensure that there are no selective prosecutions. So certainly it impressed me that the family said they're not interested at all.
Now, where to from here? What's your next step?
Well, Vuyo, certainly we'll be monitoring what the police are doing. We'll be monitoring the fact that to see if the suspect will appear in court. We'll certainly be monitoring the minister's response to the diplomatic immunity of the suspect. And as soon as we have that, we made it clear that if the minister would grant diplomatic immunity, that we will review such decision, and we will also not only monitor the police, but we're willing to cooperate with the police. We've consulted with the victim. We can share with the police, and we're willing to. For us, it's just that the suspect should appear in court as soon as possible, and justice should be done.
Quickly, before I let you go, can I sneak in another question on something unrelated? The Gupta leaks. Are you planning to get involved at all? Are you planning to do anything about those?
What we said, and I will repeat here, is that we hope that the National Prosecuting Authority and the police will do what they have to do. But if there's any truth in the media over the weekend that they think they cannot do something about it, we will then look at it, and we hope we'll be able to do something.
Thank you very much, Gerrie Nel, who is, of course, AfriForum's advocate looking into that Grace Mugabe case. Stay with us.